Hey, everybody. I think we're live. We're live. What's up, folks? Got to do an intro. Welcome to the VS Code Weekly live stream. We're glad you're here. What's up? How's it going today? Thank you for joining us. Today's special. We have a release party for you today, which means we're going to go over some of the new stuff in the release, which means you're the first to know. We're going to take a deep dive into some of that stuff. A couple things before we get started. We hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, y'all. That's incredible. That's incredible. Y'all did that. Thank you so much for that. If you're on YouTube and you're not subscribed and you feel like subscribing, just hit that subscribe button. Even if you don't feel like subscribing, just do it. It'll make you feel good inside. It'll make us feel good inside. But we want to know, what other kind of content would y'all like to see? What would you like on our streams? What could we do that would be most helpful for you in these streams, in our shorts? I mean, really, we feel like we owe you a lot. So let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll do that. In fact, the first person to chime in and tell me in chat exactly what they want to see on the stream, we'll do that. Guaranteed, it'll happen. Just tell me what you want to see. All right. So a couple other things. TikTok. Have you installed TikTok? You haven't installed it? You should install TikTok. Follow us there at VS Code. Also, maybe possibly just read up on how to manage time in TikTok, because it's can kind of take over your life, but it's a lot of fun. It's like in YouTube Shorts. If you've done Shorts, it's the same thing. You just kind of get in there and you start swiping and you can't stop. And it's like 2:30 in the morning and you're still going. But anyway, go to TikTok, live your life. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay. Let's see what else. Lastly, the meetup group. We do have a meetup group, and go ahead and join that meetup group, because we do communicate there a lot, and you will be the first to know. So let's see here. What's up, chat? What's up, chat? Can we get a TikTok in VS Code? Oh, shoot. What a great idea. We should put a TikTok in. Another idea for a TikTok plugin. Let's see. Ayed wants plugin of the week. That's a pretty good idea. Plugin of the week. We can do that. Alessandra, write that down. Plugin of the week. It's a great idea. More shorts. Came here for the rewards. I don't know what that means, but I hope you got rewarded. All right, we got a lot to get to today, so let's get right into it. What's up, Devjit from India? How's it going? Glad you're here. All right, chat. So first up in our release party this week, we've got Prashant. Prashant is a PM here at Microsoft, and we're going to talk about some of the changes that they made to being able to target specific platforms with your extensions. And so welcome to the stream, Prashant. Tell us what this is about here.
Yeah, we are quite excited about shipping this feature. This is the first feature we shipped in collaboration with the VS Code after taking over the VS Marketplace from the Azure DevOps org. So we have about 8 engineers here in India working full-time on the marketplace, and platform-specific extension has been one of the top requested features on our VS Code issues. And it's been there for 5 years, and we were finally able to close it.
Wow. So, someone waited a long time for that feature. That's patient.
Yeah, I know, yeah. So it basically to address two factors. One is convenience and the security, especially securing our supply chain from marketplace to what devs get on their machines, because all the extensions that devs use today they do run in full trust on the machine. They have access to everything. So we want to make sure they get secure extension and they could trust in the marketplace. And even some of the enterprise customers, and even in the highly regulated industries, they want to have these self-contained packages, right? They don't want any extension going to the internet and downloading any bits they need to run. One popular example would be C++, right? It has these tiny binaries that needed to run on Mac, Linux, and Windows, and even some are the very specific to CPU architecture. So what we have done is, maybe I could start with sharing my screen.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So yeah, today this is live, and we are very excited that some of our internal extension developers are onboarding, especially C++ and C#, and we have a bunch of other teams trying to go in there. How do I share my screen here? Okay.
Oh, there you go. And Inception.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So let me show you an extension, how that looks like today, right? So I have a couple of demo extension here. So this is the publisher view if you're an extension author. So when you publish an extension, it actually shows like how many target does it support. For me, this year demo supports Intel macOS as well as the new M1 chip that is Apple Silicon. If I come down here, so my version 1.0.0 supports Intel again and Apple Silicon. So what does this mean? Like, why do I have two different target platforms with the same version? So this means like when you're running a Visual Studio Code on your machine for the on like Intel machine, you will get package targeting only for that. So your extension is not like overloaded with the binaries that you don't need, or it's not going to go download any dependent binaries from the internet. So it makes a lot easier for the enterprise customers to verify this extension, as well as like if you're someone who commute over the train, you don't have internet access, you can always like trust that, okay, this extension will run and it doesn't need any dependencies to work for me, right? So I'll just show like how this looks on the web, and then I will go into the VS Code, like how that would look like, right? So yeah, you can see here, we have something called works with now. So you can figure out whether this extension works on your machine or not. And also for offline download, you can go and download for Mac and M1. And also I have one extension that is targeting only for Windows, all right? It says like works with Windows x64, and since it targets only one version, you can really just click download. This is on the website, so we don't really see a lot of engagement on the website. So what it really looks like on the VS Code is I have a VS Code Insider running here. So I can come back here and search for my extension here. Windows. It says like this is not supported on the Mac, right? Because it's targeting Windows. So this means like you can't really install this extension on your machine, but for the discoverability reasons, we do show this here. So people can, okay, this is interesting, but it doesn't really work on my machine. When I come back to other extension, which do run on my machine, I already have it. So when you install, it basically just goes to Marketplace and fetches the compatible extension here. So here I am on the, I'm on the M1 Mac, so it will go and fetch only the macOS Silicon targeted V6, right? So this is the consumer experience. Like as an extension author, how do you go about publishing these extension? So this is again pretty simple. Everything is straightforward. So you go here. We already have a VSC commands. For example, we have this new flags introduced in here, target, right? So we use this moniker very similar to what VS Code team uses to build the ID. So you could just use those and hit enter. Start to package. I will click yes. And you can see I just created the new extension. So what I can do is I'll show you another thing. Sorry. So I can like do it for Windows as well. I forgot what it's called. Win3264, I guess. I could be wrong. No, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I could do this here. So it does give us a list of target platform what we could use. Like you can see here, we have Windows 32, 64, and even we support like Windows ARM, and we have Linux and Alpine, and even you can target the web, which is the new github.dev. So you can build extension very specific to the web platform. So let me do this here. I can go yes. So you can see here now I have an extension targeting Windows. What I'll do is I'll go here and I'll publish this again. Right. Let me here. Sorry. Sometimes I do forget where I am. I do here update, and I could come back and drag and drop here. So it will take a while to verify. Once it does, it will have a support for Windows 64 as well. Since all the packages are self-contained, now we can build a lot of secure supply chain validation on top of it, like the signing and the user policies that enterprises can enforce on the developer machine. And even just like you want to host this extension internally, you can verify these extensions are coming from the single source, and you can always verify the chain of trust from the signature file. So these are still in the pipeline, but we would love to get feedback from the community and how do they feel. Yeah, this is like the very fresh feature, just like out of the oven, you could say. Yeah, we do want to hear a lot of feedbacks and how people feel about this.
Yeah, so thank you, Prashant. Chat, I'd love to know what you think about that as well. A couple comments here. Not all of them about Extension Marketplace, but this one is. So I don't, by the way, producer, I don't have access to put comments on the screen at the moment, but Parth had said, hey, VS Code, I just made my own VS Code theme and it's on the Extensions Marketplace now, but I want to make it more famous because it only has 7 downloads at the moment. Now, Prashant, this is not something that you can, we do have a featured section. Prashant,
yes.
Can you put Parth's theme in the featured section? Would you do that for Parth?
Sure. Yeah. I'll take a request.
Yeah. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I mean, we do take a request. It depends on, again, like, depends on like what like the user set it serves and like how good it is. For example, you can see here this tested test. It has like 971 downloads and it is still featured here. So we do like periodically go through the new extension and see what our internal teams are using and how they feel about these things. So yeah, you can always like add me on the Twitter. So yeah, we'll figure it out how to feature it.
Parth, it never hurts to ask. I like the shameless self-promotion there. Good job. I would do the same thing. Prashant, I have a question, which is that, and I just want to be, I'm just be blunt here. Is there not concern about fragmentation across? I mean, one of the great things about VS Code is that it runs everywhere, right? It's cross-platform. If the extensions aren't also cross-platform, is there some concern that there'll be fragmentation where we'll end up with just Windows extensions and just Mac extensions, and so on and so forth?
I mean, there are use cases, right? You do want to have some extension that can run only on the Windows. That's one of the reasons we want to support this. We don't want to have a broken experience for the, say, Linux users, right? The good example is like Remote WSL extension. This is like specifically built for the Windows and where you remote into Linux machine. If you already are on the Linux machine, you don't really need to remote into WSL, right? So it's like very Windows specific extension. So in those cases, you don't really want to have that extension.
That is true. Yeah, it would make much sense on a Mac.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Prashant, thank you so much for being here. We do have to move on because we got 2 more demos to get through in like 15 minutes. This is a great section. Thank you so much for being here.
No worries.
So since I'm doing a terrible job of time management, as is normal for me, let's welcome David. What's up, David? David is the designer here at Microsoft. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? Good morning.
Good. I'm sorry that I'm late to get to you.
It's all good.
All right. Let's also talk. What have we got?
All right. So I wanted to talk this morning about something the VS Code design team has been working on for the last several months. It's called the Webview UI toolkit for Visual Studio Code. Before I jump in, I want to set a little bit of context for those of you who aren't yet familiar with web views. So essentially, if you're building an extension for VS Code and your extension has I guess you need to display some custom UI, some custom functionality that kind of goes above and beyond the normal capabilities of the VS Code API, you can use what's called a web view. And you can think of that a little bit like almost like an iframe kind of browser-like environment within VS Code that allows you to render HTML, content, whatever you really want. Sky's the limit, and have that talk to VS Code. So it's kind of great to have that as an option if the API really doesn't meet your needs. However, it does put a fair amount of responsibility on the shoulders of extension authors. And that kind of comes in a couple different forms. One being, if you're building UI, you probably need to go find a component library like buttons, text fields, drop downs, etc., or build one yourself. And it's probably pretty unlikely that those components look and feel and act like VS Code. It's also pretty unlikely that they support color theming out of the box or are inherently accessible. And they also might be built in some specific technology that you don't want to bring into your extension. So I'm going to share my screen and show you a little bit about what we're working on here. All right. So at its core, the Webview UI toolkit is an open source component library that we just released this morning. And essentially, it's a set of components that matches the look and feel of VS Code itself. They have support for color theming out of the box, they're accessible, and they're actually built on web components technology. So you can really use it with whatever your extension is built within. I won't dive into the details too much here. Essentially, the repo has lots of good information, getting started guides. There's a storybook where you can go play with the components before you try them in your extension. And we've got some samples that showcase the toolkit being used in kind of real extensions. And that's actually what I'm going to do today is build a very simple extension. I'm going to pop over to VS Code here using the toolkit. And the basic premise is, this is like a hello world example where we're going to have a couple text fields where I'll put my name and a button. When I click it, it will fire off a notification saying, "Hey, David," or something like that. So I'm going to pop over to the code. And I've already sort of built the structure of this extension just in the interest of time here. But as you can see, it's kind of just basic HTML here. And I've got these placeholders here, which I can replace with our components. And I can see GitHub Copilot trying to predict my next move. In this case, in a very rare case, it's actually wrong. But so because we're building these with web components, it's literally just HTML. So if I want to add a text field, I can write just HTML. And I will add one for my first name. Oops. I'll add another for my last name, and then I'll add a button. I will say hello in that button. Great. I'll pop over to the extension here. I'm going to reload the extension host. And I will open up the web view again. And we can see kind of the basic structure of the extension here. You can see kind of these look and feel like VS Code components, and that's all great. Doesn't do anything yet, so let's quickly fix that. Pop back over to the code here. Again, in the interest of time, I've sort of written the JavaScript and stuff ahead of time, so I'm going to just add a couple attributes here, a couple IDs, so the JavaScript knows to say, whatever I enter these text fields, I want to grab that information, and when I click the button, do something. So I'm going to add some IDs, and while I'm here, I'll add some placeholders on the input fields just to make things look a little bit more complete. Maybe here, I'll call this one your last name. Nice prompt there. And then on the button, we'll add an ID to handle the button click. So I'll head back over to my extension. I'm going to reload this really quick. Up the web view. We can see the placeholders here. I can enter my name. And there you go. So, hey there, David Bassett. And so with these components, basically, you can see I didn't really have to worry about styling or making this look and feel at home in VS Code. I could really just sort of build the extension and focus on the part that really mattered. It's also got nice support for color theming out of the box, so you don't have to do any of that work when you're using these toolkits. They're accessible, and as you saw, because they're built on web components, it's literally just HTML. So super excited for you to try this. We just entered a sort of public preview today, so let us know what you think. I think they're going to throw a link in the chat, hopefully. Yeah, see if any issues, if you have any requests for components or ideas. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So yeah, that's all for me, and back to you, Burke.
Man, that was amazing. I'm a huge fan of Pixels. I'm a front-end developer myself, so I really enjoyed that. A lot of people asking for the link here in the chat, which I think we got up on the screen there. People saying, I need to update. Yeah, you do. Get that update going. I love the web views because it just makes it, so much easier, especially for people that want to create more robust interfaces in VS Code than having to try to figure out a lot of the SDKs. Question for you. When you were building, you said they're built on web components. Do you know, did they use a specific framework to do that, like Stencil or Fluid or any of the ones that are out there?
Yeah, let's see. Is Hawk on the stream here?
I am here, yeah.
Yeah, why don't you take that one, Hawk?
Sure, yeah. The entire component library is built with Fast Design, which is one of Microsoft's own frameworks for building web components. It's a pretty cool library. I would recommend checking it out, but they have a whole set of helpful tools and utilities for building out web components at various levels.
That is awesome. I meant fast. I said Fluid, but I meant Fast. We have a lot of frameworks here at Microsoft.
Yes.
Producer, can we get a link to Fast on the fly here?
Yes.
Yeah. Juwan says Fast.
It's fast.design.
Firework emoji. That's awesome. Let's see. When will the update be public? I'm not able to update from 1.60.2. Krishna, I think we are. You can update now, can't you? I think so. Is that right? Anybody know? Nobody knows. All right. Well, hopefully you can update now. If you can't, wait a little longer. Well, let's see. We are running behind, so I'm going to thank David and Hawk. I didn't get a chance to introduce you. Hawk's a design developer at Microsoft as well, and was here for the chat. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Actually, we do have one more. Is Webview UI Toolkit different from Fluent UI for web?
Yeah. So basically, Fluent UI is sort of Microsoft's more broad design system and associated component libraries. This is specific to Visual Studio Code.
And Hawk, I'll give this one to you. I like to ask this question every time it comes up. Ninja wants to know, why is every developer at Microsoft using a MacBook? Hawk.
I get to say that I use it from the perspective of I work with VS Code, which is a cross-platform device or piece of software. So I need a Mac to be able to test all of the various pieces.
Good answer. I like it. Yeah, we use all flavors here at Microsoft. All right. Thanks so much, Hawk. Thank you, David. It was a great demo. All right. Next up, again, behind schedule. I apologize. Please welcome Luciana. Hey, Luciana. What is up?
Hello. How are you doing, Burke?
Doing well. PM for Python. Yes?
Yes, correct. I'm super excited to be here talking about the latest updates on the Python extension.
Yes. Awesome. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, so I'm going to get started with this new feature that we have now, which is our walkthrough. So once you open VS Code, you probably see this Get Started window. If you don't, you can go Help and click Get Started. And once you do so, you're going to see, and if you have the Python extension installed, you're going to see this tile here to get started with Python development. And once you do so, you're going to see here we have a few steps, simple setup steps to get you quickly started with Python if you're trying it for the first time or if you just want to start learning. And then we have like steps for installing Python and then selecting the interpreter for your workspace or even for your whole user setting. So once you click here, we will show you the list of other interpreters you could find on your machine. I have quite a few on my machine, but we also try to highlight some recommended ones. So for example, I have a virtual environment on my workspace. So I can go ahead and click here on this recommended one as it's the one that I most likely will want to select here. We also have steps to tell you how you can run and debug Python files. So you can For example, open a Python file here. I have my views.py. So yeah, if you in this case, it's a Flask application. I should have opened like a simple hello world to show, but basically you can run here by clicking on the play button or hitting F5 as well, which is what we try to convey on this step. And we also have here some links and resources to find more features, or if you're interested in learning more about the Python extension. So the whole goal here is to really try to make the getting started experience with Python in VS Code for the first time to be as smooth as possible and also as quick as possible. The other update that I wanted to show is some improvements we've done for debugging. So like I said, I have a Flask application here. And so to run a Flask app, one thing that you can do is open here the debug view and click on run the debug. And then this would pop up this configuration asking what kind of application you're trying to debug. This is a Flask application, so I'm going to select that. If you have an app PY defined on your workspace, it will automatically use that to debug your application. But in this case, my entry point is under this web app file here under logo app. So I need to configure it, just entering the path there. And once you do so, we're going to just start debugging this app, and we can click on the link and see what's about it. Great. So I'm just control clicking it here. It's a very simple app, just displays this word cloud made with the documentation for the Python extension. Great. So the improvement that we actually made is that every time after you stop debugging, if you clicked on run the debug, we would show that configuration prompt again. And every time you stopped and wanted to restart the debugger, we would keep showing that configuration prompt, which was quite annoying when you had to enter arguments every single time. Now what we do, we memorize your configuration, your selected configuration that you do for the whole session. So every time I stop debugging now and I restart, I will not see that. I will reuse the same configuration. And of course, when you're doing Flask or Django, by default, we support live reloading. So you don't need to keep stopping to test your changes. So if I change a variable here, it will automatically reload my app. But just in case you do stop, we will not be annoying it with that configuration prompt every time. And the last update that I wanted to show is our new testing experience. So if you open here the Test Explorer that will show up once you install the Python extension, we show this Configure Python Test button. And once you click it, we will ask what kind of framework you want to enable. I am using PyTest for this one. And we will ask where are your tests defined? And my tests are all in this test py file. So it's on the root directory. I'm going to go ahead and click it. This is a Flask application. By default, we don't support out-of-the-box Flask or Django testing. So I just created quickly this PyTest INI file just to tell PyTest where is my Flask app entry point. And I just added some settings here. But if you're doing Python development for anything else, we should work out of the box. Great. So once you have your tests here, I had already previously ran them, but you're going to see your tests are here. And I can actually rerun because I know that it will actually fail this time. Once your tests fail, you're going to see this output here. It's the peak output, and it will give you some previous history information. And you can also see a little bit more the error messages. So we have an assertion error saying false is not true. Yes, false, it is not true. And we can see where it's coming from. It's this assertion line. So what I can do is go ahead and add a breakpoint here. And I can start debugging through the Test Explorer, through this debug view here. I can also right-click on these decorators to start debugging. It doesn't really matter. Both should work. And once you start debugging, it's going to take a few seconds. We can actually use all the features that we like and love about the debugger to inspect what's happening. So if I step into, it will go through my code, and I can execute things. And one thing that is nice about the testing with the debugger, debugging your tests, is that you can actually inspect what are the partial results of your function. So here I just highlighted this generate logo line, if I right click, I can do evaluate in debug console. And all it will do is just execute this on the debug console. So I can see that this is returning a string. And if I'm still insecure about it, I can go ahead and do, sorry, let me just copy and paste this and try to make sure the type of this is a string. So this is failing because I'm basically saying that this function returns an IO bytes IO, which is not true. So I'm going to go and fix it. And once I stop debugging and run again, I should go ahead and see all these fixes. And yeah, and we can see that. That's great. So these were the updates that I wanted to show. We're super excited about delivering this Test Explorer. We're still going to make a few more improvements under the hood in the part of the code where we integrate PyTest and unit test. But for now, the UI being refreshed is also a great improvement.
That was so cool, Luciana. We have a lot of Python fans in the chat, and I mean a lot. Free Name said, OMG, finally Python. Yeah, W2, Python, please. Listen, we got a lot of questions about your theme. So Paul Watts asked, nice looking theme. What is it?
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's called Horizon. I actually installed this Horizon Extended, but you should have the Horizon theme. I think it's the most popular one. This Extended that I use is just because it enables semantic highlighting. And Pylance is the language server that we use, and it provides semantic highlighting. That's why I use this one. But the Horizon theme should work as well.
Yeah, so that we actually had chat CS, you guessed it right. So I'm always impressed when people are like, yeah, that's the such and such theme. Like, really? You can pick that out just by looking at it? That's kind of incredible.
It is.
All right, what else do we have here? Let's see, what theme and font? Are you using a different font or the built-in Cascadia?
I believe I'm using the built-in. I could be wrong. I am not able to detect fonts just by looking at them, unfortunately.
So you haven't changed, you haven't customized your
I haven't changed it, no, so it should be the default. Or at least I don't remember if I changed it.
I really like the Test Explorer. I like it more when it's got a lot of green check marks in it, not so much when it's full of red dots.
Relatable.
Totally. Well, thank you so much, Luciana, for joining us to talk about Python. I did have one question, which is that, is there going to be guidance? I like the welcome experience. What about guidance for setting up Jupyter notebooks? Because that seems to be quite a bit more involved.
Yes, for sure. We are working on a walkthrough for the data science experience as well. So if you're looking for Jupyter notebooks or interactive development, we are also working on that. So that's coming up quite soon.
Awesome. We'll look forward to that. All right. Thank you so much, Luciana. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
with us. All right, folks, I know we're over, but we have one more demo for you. We saved the best for last. Sana, welcome. Hey, everybody, this is Sana, who you're actually always here. You're always behind the scenes, though.
I know, when Burke is like, producer, do this, and I forget to do that, that's me. So now I'll actually show you something else.
And TikTok. If you follow TikTok and Shorts, that's Sana as well. So, all right, what do we got?
So we've got some cool features about editor groups. So here's an example, right? So say I've got a couple of tabs open and I want to open a new file. So if I have this like preview readme open, often opening the new file is going to replace like this preview that I have or like any other open files I have, which can be annoying. So one thing that we added was this ability to lock editors. So over here, I can right click or I can use the command to lock editors. So let's see. Can I lock this? Oops. Let's try once more. Lock, toggle preview. Yeah, maybe this is it. All right, so let's try again. So if I were to open a new file, sorry, let me see what's happening with my demo. Let me try another example. So if I have this terminal open and I want to move the terminal into the editor area, so we had that feature come out a couple releases ago. So now I have this terminal in the editor area, which is great, but now I want to split it with like my actual development. So let's move one here and let's move the terminal up here. So if I open a new file, I want to make sure that it doesn't actually overtake like this Python terminal that I have running. So I can lock the Python terminal and lock this editor. So now you'll see this lock show up here. So now if I open a new file, for instance, this, it's not going to overtake this locked editor group that I have. It's only going to replace the non-locked or unlocked editors. So this works out for things like this editor, like this terminal that I have. I always want to have this terminal on the left side of my screen. I don't want to have any files replace it because I always want to see it here. I want to have this kind of stable layout. So if I lock it and unlock it, if I unlock it, then it will be able to be replaced. If I lock it, it won't. So this works out for other things too. So for instance, the preview README, markdown previews, if you go over to your settings, there's a whole set of locked editors that you can choose. So here, this is the setting. So for instance, if I always want to make sure that my markdown preview that I was just struggling with earlier is always locked on, by default, I can check that here and it will never be replaced or unlocked. So the terminal, as you saw, was always locked. Things like Jupyter's, the settings editor, lots of things can be default locked, or you can just run the command to lock them. You can lock a simple file like this too. So if I always want to have this file here, I can choose to do that. So that was one feature that came out. And the second feature that came out is also related to split editors. So for instance, if I wanted to split this file, right now I would just do that here and I would have both, like, the file open basically twice. So if I make a change in one of them, it changes the other, that's fine. But instead of opening the same file twice, what we allowed is this thing called splitting the file or splitting the editor. So I can split this editor in a group so that it's actually only open once, but I can browse and do things within the same editor group. So it technically counts as like one file that's open in one editor, but you can see the split screen here. I can also change this and make this a horizontal split. So something like this JSON file that is just a really long file that I want to edit, I can do that at the same time. And the cool setting to do this, I added this setting to make this really distinct with this like green line over here. So if you go to the workbench color customizations, you can change this specific setting, side-by-side editor.border, and I made it bright green so I can tell the difference between the split group I have. So once I've made my changes here, I can go back and join the editor again in one group. So that's a really cool way to like be able to do edits to the same like long file that you have if you want to work in different parts of the same file.
So that was, sorry, I was just reading the chat and I got distracted. That was people who stuck around to the end. That was awesome. Lightning Bolt 74 said this is actually so useful, and I completely agree. I love the side-by-side, but I'm always overwriting the wrong side because whatever side has the focus is the one that gets the new file. So, I mean, that's just amazing. And the fact that you can edit a long file in two different places at the same time is, I mean, that's awesome. Let's see, it's Connor. Sana is always cool, as always, with the awesome demo. You got some fans, Sana.
Thank you.
Let's see, bro. Hi from the Philippines. What's up, bro? Let's see. What's up? Let's see. Buddha says locking the file is good. I agree. Well, all right, y'all. Thank you for sticking around to the end. Sana, thank you so much for that awesome demo and for hanging out 8 minutes past. So sorry.
Of course.
All right, great. Thank you, chat. We'll see y'all again next week. Same time, same place. And we'll see you then. Have a great one.